The house was quiet, almost too quiet. No hum of the television, no clinking of dishes in the kitchen, not even the distant rhythm of footsteps. Just the occasional creak of wooden floorboards settling beneath the weight of emptiness. Ryan had left early that morning for a week-long business trip in Chicago. He kissed my forehead before leaving, barely awake himself, mumbling something about meetings and flight delays. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want them. Lately, we'd been speaking in headlines and half-sentences, like coworkers passing in a hallway. Civil, efficient, emotionless. I wandered into the kitchen and poured myself a cup of coffee, letting the steam blur my vision. The mug felt warm in my hands, but did nothing to thaw the heaviness that had taken root in my chest these past few months. I didn't know when exactly it started, this numbness. It crept in like fog, slowly, silently, until I couldn't see what was right in front of me anymore. We used to laugh at stupid things. Over burnt pancakes, shared playlists, terrible movies. Now, we just exchanged calendar invites and reminders about bills. I took my coffee to the living room and curled into the couch, the leather cold beneath me. My phone buzzed, just a notification from a news app. Nothing from Ryan. Not even a "made it safe." I told myself not to care. Told myself it was normal, that we were both just busy. But the silence pressed in. Thick. Suffocating. I glanced outside. Rain threatened in the sky, turning everything a dull gray. The neighborhood looked like a still frame. Lawns trimmed, cars parked, windows shut. Even the birds had quieted. I closed my eyes, letting the mug rest on my knee, trying to remember the last time I truly felt something. Anything. Warmth. Desire. Even anger would have been welcome. Instead, there was only stillness. And then a knock. I opened my eyes slowly, unsure if I imagined it. A second knock followed, firmer, deliberate. I hesitated. We weren't expecting anyone. Ryan's parents were out of town. Our neighbors usually text before dropping by. I set the mug down and stood, pulse quickening, not in fear, but in anticipation. An unexpected visitor on a day like this felt out of place, and yet oddly welcome. As I reached for the door, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, hair tied loosely, no makeup, robe slightly open at the collar. Vulnerable. Exposed. Real. Another knock. I placed my hand on the doorknob, breath held. I turned it. When the door opened, I froze for a heartbeat. "Hey," he said, the corner of his mouth tilting into a half-smile. "Didn't mean to startle you." It was Jason, Ryan's old college friend. The one who used to crash on our couch during music festivals, always the last to leave a party, always with a clever joke and that maddening twinkle in his eye. He looked the same, yet different. Older, maybe. Sharper jawline, broader shoulders, but the same easy confidence that always set him slightly apart. He held up a small cardboard box. "Ryan said this was delivered here by mistake. Figured I'd swing by and drop it off." I blinked. "Oh, right. Come in, I guess." I stepped aside and let him in, suddenly too aware of my robe and bare feet on the cold floor. The air shifted as he entered, subtle but immediate. The kind of energy that fills a room before words do. "Didn't mean to interrupt anything," he said, setting the box on the entry table. "Place looks quiet." "Ryan's out of town," I replied, moving toward the kitchen. "Coffee. Only if you're having one too." I poured him a cup, keeping my back turned longer than necessary. I needed a moment. His voice stirred something I hadn't expected, something I didn't want to name. When I handed him the mug, our fingers brushed. It was nothing, and yet it was something. He sat on the couch without being asked, like he always used to, legs stretched out, relaxed, too at ease in a home that suddenly felt too small. "I almost forgot how cozy your place is," he said, glancing around. "Still got that candle I gave you?" I looked toward the bookshelf. There it was. Unlit. Dusty. "I guess I do." Jason sipped the coffee. "You good? You seem, I don't know, tired." I hesitated. "Just a long week." "Alone too much, maybe?" His eyes met mine. Something about the way he said it made the air thick. Was that concern? Or something else?
I'm used to it, I said.
He leaned back, studying me for a moment longer than was polite. That's the thing, isn't it? We get used to things we never should. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not without saying too much. Minutes passed in soft conversation. Music, old friends, harmless updates. But the longer he stayed, the closer we sat. The space between us narrowed, without either of us meaning it to. Or maybe we both did. At one point, I laughed at something he said, an honest, startled laugh that hadn't escaped me in weeks. He smiled, eyes lingering on mine. And then the silence settled again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was charged. He didn't move. Neither did I. I should have asked him to leave. But I didn't. The rain had started outside, soft at first, then steady. It tapped against the windows like a clock with no hands, marking a moment I didn't want to name. Jason was still there, sitting across from me, his coffee long gone cold. His eyes were quiet, but not passive. Watching. Waiting. I should have stood. Made an excuse. Said I had things to do, somewhere to be. But I didn't move. I didn't want to. That scared me more than anything. You ever think about what your life might have looked like if you made different choices? He asked suddenly, breaking the silence. The question landed heavier than it should have. I looked at him, careful not to look too long. Sometimes I admitted, what if you'd married someone else? I hesitated. Are you asking if I ever thought about marrying you? His lips parted in a quiet laugh, more breath than sound.
No.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We were young.
Dumb.
But I always wondered.
So did I.
There had been a night once years ago.
Drunk.
A near kiss. But I chose Ryan. And for a long time, that felt like the right choice. Lately, I wasn't so sure. Jason leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, gaze locked on mine. I don't want to mess anything up. I shouldn't even be saying this. But you look like someone who's trying really hard to act okay. That was it. The sentence that pierced straight through the carefully layered indifference I'd worn for months. I looked down. My hands were shaking.
Why?
I don't know who I am anymore, I said, the words tumbling out before I could censor them. With Ryan, I feel like I'm fading. I don't know when I stopped being me. Jason didn't respond with pity or solutions. Just silence, and then, slowly, he reached out. His fingers brushed against mine. Not firm, not forceful, just there, present. And I didn't pull away. His thumb grazed my palm. My breath caught. This is wrong, I whispered. I know, but I don't want you to stop. He didn't. The distance between us disappeared in a blink. His lips met mine, not a question, not a demand. A memory brought to life. Familiar. Forbidden. Real. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't lustful. It was relief. Hands, mouths, breath, blurred boundaries and reawakened senses. I didn't think. I didn't analyze. I just let go. Everything I had buried, desire, ache, loneliness, rose to the surface in one irreversible decision. And in that moment, I wasn't Ryan's wife. I wasn't Jason's almost. I was just a woman who'd forgotten how it felt to be wanted. When it was over, I sat there, heart racing, reality slowly seeping back into my bones. The rain was louder now. Jason looked at me like he was waiting for a reaction. An apology. A breakdown. I gave him neither. I just whispered, I don't know what happens now. Morning came, indifferent and cold. I woke alone. The space beside me on the couch was empty, the blanket tossed aside. Jason was gone. No note, no sound, just the faint trace of his cologne still clinging to the air, woodsy, warm, fading. I sat up slowly, as if moving too quickly would shatter whatever fragile illusion I had lived in last night. My head wasn't spinning, but something deeper was, my conscience, perhaps, or the quiet knowledge that I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. In the kitchen, the coffee pot sat untouched. A single mug in the sink,
His.
Mine was still on the table, now cold and forgotten. I stared at it for a long time. Then, my phone lit up. Ryan. Flight changed. I'll be home around noon. Can't wait to see you. I swallowed hard. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I thought about replying. Can't wait to see you too. Pretend. Perform. Delete evidence.
Lie.
Instead, I locked the phone and set it down like it was something I shouldn't be holding. I walked to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. The same face. But it felt different now. There was no glow. No guilt so visible it spilled onto my skin. Just eyes a little emptier than they'd been yesterday. What had I done? It wasn't passion that haunted me. It was the why. Why had I let him stay? Why had I wanted to? I thought about all the times I'd felt invisible, sitting across from Ryan at dinner, watching him scroll through emails, lying next to him in bed, a chasm of silence between us, smiling at him, only to receive a distracted nod in return. But does neglect justify betrayal? Jason had seen me. In one evening, he gave me more attention than Ryan had in months. But was that enough? Was I so starved for affection that I accepted it from the first person who offered it? Maybe. Maybe that's what scared me most. I wiped my face with a towel, though there were no tears. By mid-morning, I had cleaned the couch, changed the sheets, aired the windows. But nothing could erase what had happened. Not really. When Ryan walked through the door later that day, he looked tired, worn down by airports and meetings. He smiled when he saw me. A small one, but real. He kissed my cheek. Missed you. I smiled back. Missed you too. And maybe I did. Or maybe I just missed the version of us that used to exist. As he unpacked his bag, I watched him from the hallway, my stomach heavy with silence. I didn't tell him.
Not that day.
Not the next. I don't know if I ever will. Some choices don't come with explanations. Some nights don't end just because the sun rises. And some echoes are loudest when no one else can hear them.